Hello everyone and welcome to our first Apple Teacher session. This is a re-record of a session we hosted earlier on today where we couldn't quite get the recording to work out. So I said I would come home and record the session again so that people could review it and pause it because we did go through quite a lot in quite a short period of time. So here it is again. We are delighted to have you join us today. I'm really pleased that so many of you have embarked on your Apple Teacher journey. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. If you can keep cameras off, that would be great. We are planning on recording our future Apple Teacher sessions, so you can come back to them at any point. And for others who are unable to make our session today, they can follow along later. If you can let us know if you've watched the video, that would be ace, and keep us updated of your Apple Teacher badge progress. So that's the logistics for the session out of the way. Welcome to our iPads Basics course. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ruth Burnett, a primary teacher at Bishopton Primary School and an Apple Distinguished Educator. I've got the t-shirt and everything. I'm also one of the facilitators from the Renfrewshire Apple Regional Training Centre, alongside Laura McAllister, who joined us earlier today from Todd Home. So at the RTC, this is our main aim, and we're really pleased to be offering these courses in Renfrewshire. We really do believe that iPads can support teachers and learners in many different ways, and we hope to offer lots of support and advice to help with this. Today, we are starting the Apple Teacher journey. Apple Teacher is a free professional learning programme offered by Apple that is designed to support and celebrate educators using Apple products for teaching and learning. It is a self-paced programme that consists of getting to know 6 different areas of iPad, taking a wee quiz online for each area, and then gaining a badge. Once you have all 6 badges, ta-da, you're an Apple Teacher. You'll access the Apple Teacher Learning Centre by using an Apple ID. And as I said in pretty much every bit of documentation about these courses, this must be a personal Apple ID. It should not be linked to your Glow or your Renfrewshire email, as Apple Teacher is linked to you. And should you move elsewhere, it should be able to go with you. If you already have an Apple device, then you'll already have an Apple ID that you can use. Now, the Learning Centre is chock full of wonderful things. The Apple Teacher modules and quizzes are held there, but there's also a ton of resources, ideas, lesson plans, and a forum to share ideas and pocket other people's bits and bobs too. When you finish the course today, I would advise logging into the Learning Centre and finding the Apple Teacher section. There you will see the iPad badge that we've covered today, and you may feel confident enough to take the badge quiz right there and then. Don't worry about that too much now though, as I'll go over what that consists of at the end. This is an overview of the different areas we'll be looking at today, and this is how the module in the Learning Centre is broken down too. Some of the things you see today you may already know, some may be new to you. If you have any questions, you can contact us via the Twitter site, or you can contact us in our new space on Teams for the Renfrewshire RTC, and we'd be delighted to help you out. So let's get started. Here we have our home screen, and you can see that we can browse left and right through pages. Now, I only have one page with all of my apps on it. You may find that your school iPads are littered with apps over many pages, but one of the wonderful things about your iPad is you can kind of organise it a little if you find that works better for you. So you can edit your home screen and put apps into different folders. So you'll see here, I have my Apple folder, my Microsoft folder, my education folder, all nicely organized. And the way that you do that to move apps is to hold your finger down on the app. You'll see that they start to wiggle and jiggle about a little bit. And then you can just drag them on top of each other and they'll all cluster together in a folder. You can then name that folder and it makes it a lot more organized and easier to get what you need. You also have your dock along the bottom, and the dock along the bottom should be where you keep your most frequently used apps. Keep them in your dock and you can add things to it or take away in the same way that we added things to the folder before, by holding down, and you can either drag it off or drag ones on. And when we come to look at multitasking later, you'll see why it's quite handy to have your most frequently used apps there in your dock. So this is an opportunity for you to organise and personalise your device so that it works best for you. We also have something on the iPad called the Control Centre, and this is instant access to iPad features, settings, all the things that you might want to be able to have a nice, quick, easy access to. And the way that you get there is swiping down from the top right. So here I have my control center, and you'll see it has a whole bunch of different buttons. If we have a look at the brightness button, I can hold my finger down on it and I can adjust it that way. And the same works for the timer button as well. So if I can hold on the timer, I can drag it up and down, set my timer, and then that'll put a big timer up on the screen, which is always really good for when you're doing timed activities in class as well, just to keep your learners in tune to how much time they've got left. Now, you might want to add things onto your control center. For me, one of the most useful things to have on it is screen recording. So let's see how we add things to our control center. So we go into our settings, which is a little cog at the top. And you'll see control center is just here on the left-hand side. And I want to add the screen record function to my control center. So just click the little plus. And you'll see now it is up in my top section, my included control section. If I go back to my home screen, do my swipe from the top right there, and you'll see that I now have a new button, my screen record button. I can hold on that, and you'll see at the bottom there's a little bit that says microphone. Now this is quite handy because if the kids are screen recording, sometimes they don't want their voice to be recorded and sometimes they do. So they'll need to be able to toggle that option depending on the activity. And we'll come back to screen recording in a little bit. So in your control center, it's really useful to have the things that you want nice, quick access to. Now, let's have a look at our camera, one of the most useful tools that we have on our iPad. So we can open that from our control center. You'll see the little camera icon there. I can hold that down and it gives me the different types of photo that I might want to take, or I can access it through the camera app icon. Now, obviously, I can have it forward facing, not a very flattering view, and I can take selfies, or I can turn it around for my rear facing photo. Now, I'm in my front room just now, so I'm just going to take a photo over here. And what you'll see is a little yellow box appear in the center, and this is my area of focus. Now you can see that what the camera will do is that we'll use that area as the focus point. And what I can then do is I can drag up or down, keeping my finger down, to lighten or darken the picture as it's being taken, till I get it just where I like it, and then take the photo. You can obviously also record videos using your camera, and you can have slow-mo videos, and you can use it for time-lapse as well. So there's lots of different things that you can use the camera for in your classroom. Let's have a look at photos now. So our Photos app, here we have it here. And it allows us to enhance and organise and search for particular photographs as well. Inside my photos, I've got some example photos for us to look at. I'm just going to pick this one here of the great outdoors. Beautiful photo, looks nice. I'm not really happy about some of the light within it, so I want to do some editing. And the way that I do editing is I'm going to press on the edit button. And then you get these set of tools here. Now you'll see the magic wand, and the magic wand allows you to do some sort of automatic effects for you. So if I click on that, underneath that, there are different sliders that I can adjust to edit my photo. And what's really cool as well is while you're doing that, you might be like, well, I can't actually remember what the original photo looked like. You can tap on it and it'll flick between the original and your enhanced version. So you can kind of see which one you like better there. This is quite useful. Say you're going outside and you're taking photos of signs of autumn, signs of winter, and you want to take them back and maybe talk about the different light within photographs and how to take a good photo. This is a really good tool to be able to use within photos. They might also not be happy with the composition of the photo. Maybe they want to zoom in on a particular bit or rotate it. If we look over on the left-hand side now, you can see that there is the crop button. They can use the little handles to crop in a particular area that they like. And then on the right-hand side are the straightening tools, which you can use to adjust the orientation of your photo and how it moves. When they're happy with that, they can click done and done again, and it will save it to their camera roll. But you'll also notice that you have access to some other tools when you're in there. And some of these are the markup tools. And markup tools are a really cool little simple trick that you can show kids that they will love. So for example, one of the things I did with my class recently was we were looking at the different types of angles. And I asked them to make different types of angles using lollipop sticks and take photographs of them. So here's an example here. Now, what I wanted to know was that if they could identify where the angle is and the type of angle that it was as well. So again, I click edit, and I'm going to use the markup button. The markup button is a little circle with almost a little top of a pen or a pencil inside it. Now, I do have an Apple pencil that I can use for this. However, for the kids in school, what we have is just these little tin ones here with like a little rubbery bit at the end, and they work perfectly fine. The problem with these is they don't have palm rejection, so if their palms are hitting off the screen as well, sometimes it can confuse it. So it's just to try and get them to only use the little bit nib at the end. However, they also have fingers, which work perfectly well too. So say I want them to mark on the angle. I'm going to click on my markup tool. It brings up this selection of tools down the right-hand side. See lots of different drawing tools. I can move where my markup tools go as well, along the bottom, up the side, or I can minimize them. And I'm going to want to use this pen here, but I want to change the color. So I've got my standard colors here, but I can click on this one, and then I have the whole palette to choose from. I can change the thickness of my tool that I'm using by holding down. And then I can draw on my angle, just like that. Now, I also want them to be able to write on the type of angle that it is, but I know that sometimes when they're using their finger or the little stylus, it can be quite hard to read, but there are other tools that they can use too. So if you go down to the little plus button, you'll see that they can add a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So let's see if we can add some text. Let me tap in. Acute angle, and you'll see that now the markup tools have changed and I can now edit the text within it. So I can make it bigger. I can change the font, and I can change the color. Now, perhaps I also want them to draw me an angle as well, but I think I'd like them to use a ruler for this. So I tap on my ruler, and you can use 2 fingers to rotate the ruler. And it's quite handy because you'll see it actually puts the degrees on it as well. So now when they draw along the side of it, it's not a great example there, I apologise, let's try again. Now when they draw along the side of it, they have a nice straight line. They can also rotate that ruler, put it up there, and they have now drawn a beautiful acute angle themselves. And you just pop the ruler away to get rid of it. There are other tools in there as well. They can add different shapes. So maybe this time I want them to draw an arrow to show where the acute angle is. Right in here. And again, I can play around with the size of that and lots of other things as well. So that's markup. And there are absolutely tons of things that you can do with markup and simple photos. Going outside, being able to identify shapes, draw on the pictures that you've taken where the shapes are. Done again. And done to save. Now, one of the things that you can do that we've been looking at for our 12 Days of Christmas at the RTC is just adding a little bit of festive flair to your photos. So you'll see this simple photo here, little selfie, that I've used the markup tools to just give it a little Christmas jazz. And that will be one of our activities that will be coming up in our 12 Days of Christmas series coming up soon. Now, say we're going to move over to video now. Say you've got a video and you realise that maybe there's bits the start and the end where they're getting set up that just make it look a little bit messy. Let's go into this video. And in this example, the issue was more that I think you could hear me in the background moaning about something. So we wanted to trim that out. So you're going to press the edit button. And you'll see along the bottom, we have the entirety of our clip, and it's got little bits around the end of it, little handles. When I grab one of those handles, there it is, it turns yellow, and you can see that it's taken off that first section. And you can play it to make go for that. Now, when they save it, they can either save it as a new clip or over the top of their original version. I always recommend that they save it as a new clip, just in case their trimming's gone a little bit awry and they're annoyed that they've lost something from the original. So we'll go done, save video as a new clip. And then that video, along with the original, are both kept within your videos section, excuse me, within your camera roll. Let's move on. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you, wanted to talk to you about was Siri. Now, Siri, excuse me, is switched off on council devices for obvious reasons, but it might still potentially be in your Apple iPad badge for Apple Teacher. You can switch it on within the settings, and if you do have it on your Apple devices at home, there is a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. You can set timers, you can get to translate stuff, you can do all sorts of things, get it to set reminders for you, check the weather, a whole bunch of stuff. But what we're going to move on to now is Safari. And let's have a look at some little tricks that might help you and your learners use Safari in a really interesting and productive way. So let's go into Safari. So Safari is our browser that comes on our Apple devices. And you'll see here, we are going to be researching Scotland. Scotland topic, January is coming up, it'll be here before we know it, and often we are looking at researching Scotland. Now, we have our website here. And what I want to do is I want to open one of the links on this website as a new page. So let's see the one that says United Kingdom. I'm going to hold down. And I'm going to say open a new window. So what that does now is it has both websites side by side. So I can look at both of them together. Always really handy if you're wanting to be looking at multiple things at once and maybe taking notes on paper, or as we'll see in a second, you can also do with pages. So we have our two web pages side by side. Now, perhaps we have one of those web pages like this one that has something, buzzing about at the top. Either we or our learners are getting distracted by it. Sometimes you even have websites that perhaps have ads on the bottom, or perhaps just things you're not generally comfortable with your kids looking at or getting distracted by. So we want to get rid of them. That is when Reader View comes into play. That's when Reader View comes into play. So Reader View allows you to have simplified views of websites. So let's just drag the one on the right-hand side away just now. So it's gone. Here we have our Scotland page again. And you'll see up towards the top, we have the website, and beside it, we have a little A and a big A. Now, if I refresh this page, you'll see it says Reader View available at the top. Now, that means that there is a simplified version of this website. Unfortunately, landing pages, which are generally pages that have lots of links and stuff on it, will not work for Reader View. But to turn it on, you just use those two little A's up there beside the web link. You can either hold it down or tap to switch on. And what it does is it takes away all the other bits and bobs. What you have left there is just the information from that website. Really useful. A really useful tool for you, a really useful tool for learners as well who get distracted by other things. They can personalize the Reader View as well by clicking on the two A's. You can change the font and the background color of the page. For me, I prefer it when I have dark colors and lighter text on top. It just makes it easier for my eyes, especially if I'm doing a lot of work on my iPad. Now, perhaps we have a PDF on a website that we want to look at, and we also maybe want to save it to our iPad to look at later, or even annotate. So I have one here for us to have a look at. This activity here for 30 creative activities for kids, the activity guide, I want to download this PDF and store it on my device. So I hold down the link, and you'll see the option there for download linked file. You can see the little progress bar moving up towards the top, and then when I click on that, tap on the document, it opens up. And you'll see my little markup tool has popped up again, which means I can annotate that PDF. So I can pop that on. I can use my finger or my stylus, whatever, to make annotations. So maybe I fancy doing this next Tuesday. That's maybe a bit different, this one. Let's do the 12th. Whatever. You can then save that, and that will save that PDF to the file section on your iPad. Let me just show you where that is. So I've got a little files folder here. New recents. There we go in here. And you'll see it's been saved with my annotations on it. So quite a handy little tool, that one as well. Now, say you have a website that you're forever accessing. For us in Bishopton, it's often school dinners and we have to go on in the morning and get it all set up, type in the web address, or even our class pages where each class has a web page where the teacher can post blogs for directed research. Rather than them going on, typing it in, blah, 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 it can be a bit of a faff and it can also waste quite a bit of time. What you can do is you can save a bookmark to your home screen. So say it's this one, this Britannica Kids page. Let's just turn it off reader view for now. You use the little sharing button, which is the square with the arrow pointing up. And you're going to do add to home screen towards the bottom. Give it a name if you want to. I'm just going to leave that as that. And what you will then see is I've now got an app icon for that website. So in the morning or whenever they're using the device and they want to access that, they can just tap it and it'll take them straight there. Just saves you that little extra bit of time, which we know is so valuable. So before we get on to actually looking at multitasking, let's just recap what the main things are. We have our dock down at the bottom, and you can access your dock. Mine is on just now because I'm screen sharing, but just by pulling up about an inch and then pausing, and then you can pick your apps from there. To access the app switcher, and the app switcher will show you your most recent apps that you have open. And that's why I always go on to the kids at school about tap, swipe those apps, because you'll be amazed at the amount of things that are left open if those apps are not closed. And the way you get that is they drag up from the middle, right up towards the center of the screen, and you'll see all the things that we've had open most recently. And you can close some of them as well. And it also means if you want to jump between stuff, you can just jump between it quite easily. And to close something, you just swipe up, and that's it done. We also have another little couple of tools called Slide Over and Split View. And this is when we're going to start moving into learning about how to use notes. So for Slide Over, say we are using Safari and we are wanting to perhaps take notes while we're in Safari. So here we have Safari here. And our little multitasking button is the little three dots at the top. If we tap on that. And we're going to pick Slide Over to look at first. Slide Over does exactly that. It means that Safari can now slide over other apps. So it's slid off to the side. I'm going to open Notes. And I'm going to make a new note. So I'm going to slide that off to the side. New note with the little square and the pencil in the top right-hand corner. And I'm just going to type Scotland. Now, what I want to do is I want to go and check about that thing that I just read just now. So I can slide it back in. I can read it a little bit. I can slide it back off. But perhaps I don't want to do that. Perhaps I always want to have stuff up at the same time. That is when we would use Split View. So let's bring Safari back, click the multitasking button and go to Split View. Now we're going to have Safari up on the right-hand side and we're going to have Notes on the left-hand side. And you'll see now we have both things open together. Shrink that down a little bit. One of the things I found Split View and Slide Over quite handy for recently is we have been doing some coding. So we've been doing coding with Scratch Online, but also referring to a tutorial. Rather than having to flip back and forward between two different apps or two different websites, being able to have them both open at the same time, or being able to have your tutorial, which you can just kind of flick in for a little bit, do a little bit of coding and flick out, is super helpful. It also just kind of, again, saves time flicking between things or maybe going back and closing something and all the sort of things that can happen in a lesson like that. In this example, what we're going to be looking at is how to use Notes, the Notes app, to take notes from a website in Safari that we have open at the same time. So here we have our Scotland Notes, and we move this over to the side. You can make it smaller or bigger, depending on which one you want to have the focus on, and you can type your notes away there. Now, let's just have a little bit of a closer look at Notes in itself. because I love Notes. It's a brilliant app and it's often overlooked in favour of some of its fancier cousins, but it does a lot of what we need and a lot of what we've perhaps used other specialist apps for in the past. Notes does it already. So let's pull Safari off to the side there, and we have our Scotland note. Now you'll see it's taken up the whole page just now. In the top left-hand corner, there's two arrows pointing towards each other. If I press that, you'll see I'll get my list of notes down the left-hand side. Now you can organise these into folders, into areas. You'll see again, if I click my browser in the top left-hand corner, I've got different folders for my different classes and my different things in there as well. So you can organise them within there if you want. So let's get rid of them. We'll go back into my notes. Now, perhaps I'm thinking about doing a Scotland topic and I'm trying to work it out with the kids what it is we're going to learn about. In notes, you can use a variety of different media within the one note. Back to using my Apple Pencil again, or stylus or finger or whatever, use my markup tools. I want to maybe start off with a mind map. And try and work out, well, what is it that you're interested about, kids? Okay, you want to learn about the cities of Scotland. Excuse me, you want to learn about the lochs. You want to learn about myths and legends. You want to learn about food and drink. Excellent ideas. So there I've got the start of my mind map that I have created with the children. And from there, after a bit more discussion, maybe a little bit of research to get started, we've come up with some questions that we want to cover, we want to answer through our learning. And what you can do then is you could add a little list, maybe a little checklist to see if you've accomplished them through your learning. And you'll see one of the buttons up at the top, it's like a little checklist, we can put that in. And maybe we could ask some of our questions here. So why is Edinburgh the capital city? Where do Highland cows come from? Some excellent questions for inquiry there. And as you go through them, you can check them off as you answer them. So we have our list in here. But maybe we want to add in a wee picture as well. You can add that into the same note. So if we go up to the camera, we are going to choose a photo. Let's go for Edinburgh Castle. Add it. And it's going to drop that in. But the wonder is as well, on my photo, I can also mark it up. Right. And I also want to add in some other bits and bobs. So you'll see, starting to see that it's a place where you can drop a bunch of different things in different formats and pull it all together. Almost if you were wanting to plan something with the kids or the kids were wanting to plan something themselves, they can put all their resources in one place and store it here. So let's go back and get our Safari back. So go into split view. I'll bring my Safari back up. And I actually think, you know what, see, this website is dead good and I don't want to lose it again. I don't want to lose it. I want to be able to come back to it when I'm going doing my next bit of Scotland topic work. So hold down on the website. See it's starting to wiggle a bit. I can bring it over. There you go. And that's that embedded in as well. So it means that becomes a link within my note that can take me out again. One of the things that I want to do now is to add in a document as a PDF into my planning document. So I click the camera, scan documents. Let's get this way. Yeah, it's got the little yellow box around it. This way as well. See which one works best. You can see it's got little handles around it in case I want to crop the area. I'll get rid of that one. Not happy with that one, but I do like this one. And there it is. And now what I can do is I can use my markup tool and I can add in the answers. So you'll see, starting to see there now that Notes is a really wonderful place for storing all different types of files. And another type of file that you can add into your notes are voice memos. And voice memos I've found are a really useful tool for peer and for teacher feedback on work that you're creating on iPad as well. Let's have a little look at them. I'm just going to pull down for searching. So that's another little tip I think I forgot to say at the beginning. If you're looking for a certain app and you can't find it, or the kids can't find it because there's like pure screens of them on their iPads, they can just pull down and in the search bar, type in what they're after. And that should make it easier to find it. Here we have some recordings I have done earlier. The children have created their plan for their Scotland inquiry topic and they have airdropped it to me. And I think it looks great, but there's maybe something I think that's missing. So I wanted to record a little bit of feedback. You click the record button, record what you want to say and pause. I'll just play you back my example just now.
In your plan, you have said you want to learn about the different cities in Scotland. Do you know anything about the different islands of Scotland? Maybe you could include that in your plan too.
Okay, so a little bit of feedback there. Now what you have is that line down the centre is called the playhead. So perhaps I think there's another bit of feedback I want to add as well. Then I could just add that on too. So this line down the centre is called the playhead, and perhaps I've decided I want to add a little bit of extra feedback as well. So I put my feedback where, I put my playhead where I want it to be, click edit, and then I can just resume. What sort of myths and legends are you wanting to learn about? Click done. And then that has added that onto my voice memo. You can also trim it. So if you think you're doing maybe bits of ums and ahs or whatever that you want to take out, you can do that too. So again, you click the edit button. You've got your whole voice memo there. The little button at the top right-hand corner that's like a square with little bits poking out of it. That allows you to trim bits. So you can trim with that little bit at the end. A little bit at the start there. Trim. And it's taken those sections out. And I can save. And you can also speed up or slow down what you're saying. Now I want to add that to that note that in this example, the children have airdropped to me. So I am going to click done. I've got my Scotland questions. I've got my share button, which is the square with the arrow coming out of it. I'm going to tap that and I want to share it in notes. So tap notes. I want to find my notes on my iPad, which is called Scotland Notes right here. I could add a little message if I wanted, but in this case, I'm just dropping it straight on in there. And now, if I go back into notes, you will see at the bottom of that sheet is my feedback.
In your plan, you have said you want to learn about the different cities.
So I can then airdrop that back to the kids and they can hear my feedback and get on with answering the things that I have asked them to do. And it can go like that back and forth. It's brilliant. They can also share things with each other via airdrop and get feedback that way too. So adding voice memos is another extra little dimension that you can use with your work on iPad. And you don't just have to import them into notes, you can just have them saved as voice notes as they are. They can also import them into things like iMovie or into Pages or Keynote as well. There's lots of different ways that they can embed voice notes into their work. One thing that I forgot to show you earlier is how to use notes for things like screen recording or modelling. And one of the examples that I showed earlier today was a maths talk. So in the past, we've maybe used apps where the children have used this app to explain various problems, whether it's a mathematical problem or just explain their thinking on some other subject. You can do that with the notes already. So let's make it full screen. Say this is the maths problem we've either been given, we've either airdropped it to them all and asked them to solve it, but we've then asked them to solve it by screen recording. So remember we added screen record to our control center, so that'll be nice and easy to find. You'll see it down in the bottom right-hand corner, and we want to make sure our microphone is on because we want to record our explanations. So we hold it down, make sure microphone is switched on, and click Start Recording. You'll see a little red dot comes up in the top right-hand corner, which shows that they are recording it. Okay, this is how I solved this maths problem. Well, And again, they can use markup and they can annotate it as they go. I think the answer in here is blah-de-blah-de-blah. They can then click up the top, stop recording, and it will save that into their camera roll. And if we go into camera roll just now, here we have it here, most recent one. They can also trim it and edit it as we showed earlier. Using edit and using the little handles to trim out like the bit where it's all setting up for screen recording. Just discard that. You can use it as a notice board. You can use it as a whiteboard for them to record them explaining their thinking or their planning or their ideas, whatever. They can then share that with the teacher via AirDrop, who can either cast it onto the Promethean board or can share it by the wire or whatever, so that they can share it with the whole class. Or it can be sent to the teacher. A couple of things on accessibility to finish off with. And I'm just going to show you just a couple of quick things on it, because we do offer an accessibility course, which you're very welcome to come along to. We'll be doing another one of those in the new year, I think, where we show you a lot more detail about how to support the learners in your class. But a couple of the things that I want to show you are to do with reading aloud. So if we go into our settings and accessibility, you'll see there's a section called spoken content. And there are two different things you can do. You can either have it speak a selection of text that you tell it to speak, or speak the whole entire screen. So let's turn them both on. I also wanted to show you how to find the voice for Fiona, who is our Scottish voice. Now, this is very dependent on the operating system that you have, but if you have the latest one or one of the latest ones, Fiona, the Scottish accent should be there. And you find her down in voices, up in the English section, and down to English Scotland. You need to select it, and then you need to select the download button so that it will be stored, and then you'll have Fiona. Let's see if we can get her to do some talking for us. My recommendation would be, if you are using the speak screen option, is to put it on reader view, because it will literally read everything on the screen. So if we go into Safari just now and we go up to the top, it would read all of those menu items along the top there. So let's pop on our reader view. Go up to the top. And we're going to swipe down from the centre with 2 fingers to see if it comes up.
Scotland is a part of the United Kingdom, a country of Western Europe. The other parts of the United Kingdom are England, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
I'm just going to pause there for just now. So you could hear that that was Fiona, our Scottish accent. And what we have here is we have our voice controller. And that means that you can stop, pause, you can speed it up as well as it's reading. So let's turn off reader view for just now. Let's go up. Well, let's try a different site just now. Now we only want it to read a specific part of the text, so we don't necessarily have to have it in reader view. So I'm going to pop my finger down here and then drag it all along, and I want it to read that sentence. And you'll see that you get a whole selection of things there to choose from, and we're going to pick speak.
Scotland has 3 land regions.
And you can see it's just reading out all the words that we highlighted there. Now you can also do nifty things with this as well. So you can tap on it and you can translate it into different languages. You can then copy that and post that into different places as well. So that's just 2 of the little tips for accessibility, but there is a whole ton of stuff within your iPad to personalize the experience for specific learners, and also to support them in whatever ways they need to make their learning experience much more equitable by using an iPad. So we are finally on to our last section of the iPad module, and I've thrown quite a lot of information at you, and that's why I really wanted to re-record the session so you could pause it, you could try things out, you could rewind, and you could check it out that way and do it at your own pace too. But the last thing I want to show you, I wanted to end in a high, and it's by using maps. So the Maps app within the iPad has a whole bunch of really nifty things you can play with. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have a flyover of a city. So let's open Maps. And we're going to look at Glasgow, Scotland. So perhaps as part of a Scotland topic, or a topic in comparing countries or whatever, you are wanting the children to experience a tour of the city without obviously having to pack your bags and go on an expensive trip. So let's just go. type in Glasgow for just now. I do recommend the Paris, France one though, it is beautiful. So here we've got Glasgow. Let's get them, here we go. And you'll see you get these different options. Now you can click the buttons over on the right hand side. So see how there's a little globe, I can click that to go between the different types of map. So just regular map there, satellite map gives it the 3D view. You can then pinch and rotate. You can click the 3D button as well, so that when you zoom in, the buildings look 3D there. And you can also do a city tour. So you'll see on the left-hand side, one of the options is flyover. So I'm going to tap that. And we're going to start our tour. You can see the quality of this is incredible already. And what it does is it gives you a flyover tour of the city of your choosing. Now, I did this other day when I was trying to think of holiday destinations to go to, and I just sat and typed in all these different cities, and it was brilliant fun just to kind of navigate with the tour. So it takes you past the buildings. It has a little label along the bottom to tell you what they are, and you can pause it and do more investigations on the place as you go. And you can see as I'm moving it around as well, I can click on the little buttons. Just turn that off. I can click on the little symbols, and it gives you more information and more photographs and stuff and details on the different buildings and the different things within your city of your choosing. So it's a really nice way to finish, I think, on maps, and it's a really fun tool, and the kids love it as well, especially if you are learning about different places in the world that they're maybe not going to be able to go and visit, that you can do this tour that way yourselves. And what you could also do, I've seen it done before, is where they screen record their flyover, and then they can add a voiceover to it as well, so that it's almost like they're giving the tour of that city as part of topic work. It's a lovely idea. So let's go back to our keynote from the start, because that is everything we wanted to show you for today. And I do understand that that's a lot of information to kind of throw at you. So please do pause, rewind the video, join us in the RTC Teams area. We'd love to have you there and answer any questions that you have. And we'd also love to hear how you get on with your quiz for gaining the badge. So let's see where we got to. We have covered all of these areas here. And when you go into your Apple Teacher area, you will see that the things that we have covered today are also the things that are covered in there. And that is what the quiz questions should cover. We have another 5 Apple Teacher sessions, just like this one, each covering a different app with an iPad. And we would love for you to join us for the future ones. These are the dates here. They are available on the CPD Manager. And if you have any questions about them or you would like any more information, please drop me an email on the address here. We would love to see you join us in the RTC Teams area. We will be able to offer some ideas and support, advice, and any nifty things that we find, we will post in there as well that you're welcome to use. Here is a QR code to join our RTC space on Teams. Please join and share when you get your badge, because we would love to see it. This document here, 30 time-saving tips for teachers, I will be sharing in the RTC space on Teams later this evening. And it has got lots of brilliant little ideas with some detail on how to do them on the next page that you can use in your classrooms as well. Lots of the things that we'll have covered today are in here, and some other ideas using the tools that you've been learning about. And before we finish up, we've got our survey here. If you can use the QR code to access the survey and give us some feedback on how you feel the session went, that would be great. It really helps us to tailor the RTC courses to the needs of our lovely Renfrewshire educators and see how we can best support you in using iPad in your classrooms. Thank you very much for your time today. Good luck with your quizzes, and we can't wait to hear how you get on. Bye-bye.